Okay, well, the first pattern I want to talk about is the inspired creator pattern. Now, I work with a client that has this pattern in a full bore way. So they're incredibly creative, like they get 1,000 ideas, and they're generally really good ideas. They're also a very persuasive communicator, and they're really good with people. So, they get these great ideas, and then people tend to buy those ideas because of how persuasive they are in the way that they communicate. They're also strategic. So, as I said before, the ideas are pretty smart, really. They've got a good entrepreneurial mind. And the staff loved this particular person because of just how inspiring she was. They loved her ideas and just loved how she was, and she was very empowering to the staff. However, when I started to inspect her business, I could really see where her blind spots were manifesting in the business. And so I started to notice that her ideas weren't being grounded out. So there were problems in the business that she would have these ideas about solving, and then she would work those through a bit and give them to her staff, and her staff would never get the projects finished because they'd be pulled into something else or something else or something else. So the business was full of these half-finished projects. People were working really hard but going nowhere fast because there was just too much for them to do. And what I'd find out from talking to staff is that she would tend to, get halfway through a project and be inspired by some other idea or project, and she'd get stuck into that and get her staff to start doing that. So you start to get an idea about what was happening in her business. So her blind spots was a real inability to see her weaknesses, and her weaknesses were obviously business planning, organizing, attention to detail, in the sense of project managing something through in a highly detailed manner until it was finished. And probably even more importantly, she had a real poor grasp on what was required from a resource allocation perspective, meaning, whenever we create a project for our business, we've got to step back and go, well, how many staff is that going to take? How long is that going to take? How much money is that going to cost? So you can see, great ideas, just not fantastic with the details and the planning, the organisation. Now, again, and this is for everyone listening and viewing, without her being able to identify that was her weakness, meaning without being able to take that out of her blind spot and see it, doesn't matter how much good quality technical coaching she gets, nothing in her business will change. She has to understand that that's her blind spot. Any input to that, Georgina?
Yes, Perry. I've worked with a client who has a similar pattern, and one of the things that I noticed was a real blind spot for them was their lack of focus. The different ideas and the different creative, inspiring, moments that came up for them caused them to really lack focus, and so they weren't as committed to following through and implementing what needed to be done as a result of their ideas, because they were always, there was always a new exciting idea coming up for them. So it was a little boring to sort of follow through and commit. So it's a very inspiring pattern to have, in that it's very, as you said, creative and lots of ideas, but those parts of the inspiration can also take us off focus and help us lack in our commitment. So,
definitely.
Yeah, totally.
I agree. Any view from you about this, Gab? You've worked with this pattern a few times as well.
Yeah, one of the most important things for me that I've seen in my clients is really that there's no, because they're so engaged in their ideas, that really shows you that there's a real passion and a real purpose around the ideas that they're sharing. And they don't put any energy into the detail and all of the detail-orientated logistics aspects of the business. So naturally, they're not going to be putting any effort or consistency into that, and unconsciously sabotage the business in that way. And if they were to just become aware of it, then obviously they're going to turn that into something that can be either managed or delegated, or just taken care of in a way that they wouldn't be able to do when they're unconscious.
Oh, absolute key point there, and that once the business owner can identify that blind spot, that weak area in their behavioral profile, their personality profile, what they're bringing to the business. They can choose to either work on that, as you said, or they can choose to bring someone else into the business that takes care of that element. And that's an important thing for everyone to understand when we do this work. When we're helping our entrepreneurial clients identify blind spots, we might find the best solution is to bring someone else into the business to cover those blind spots so that person can stay in the roles that really serve them. So as Georgina and Gab said, you can hear, and I think this is important to note, that this particular business person that we're talking about that displays the inspired creator pattern, they love being inspired. So they love ideas. That's where they get a big emotional hit. That's where they get the joy, and commitment to the logistics and the planning will tend to demotivate them. So there's an unconscious tendency to avoid that area of business, which is the central issue. That's a blind spot working.